The Ordinals season was great, but it's gone. Do I think it's gonna have another Ordinals 2.0 season? I doubt so. We need to scale Bitcoin. If we keep going like this, the network is not gonna be healthy and sustainable. Building things on Bitcoin requires you to have strong connection with the miners, and then access to the liquidity provider is very important, which is very unique, very difficult for a lot of the builders. Gavin left Ethereum and he started Polkadot. I sold my car and I bought a Polkadot.
You've reached Toby and Brent. We'll get back to you.
So Charlie, I probably have seen you everywhere in the world except in Singapore.
Where are you about to live?
Yeah.
But I mean, that's probably how you have to do it in order to build a great and long-lasting business. And I think Bitlayer has reached a stage where this is going to be very, very evident. So fantastic to have you here in Dubai this time. And excited to host an event with you that's happening this week as well. I think we have thousands of signups now at this point. But I want to take a step back because, I mean, I would call it a crypto OG. We met the first time in China a long, long time ago. Then passed away again in Singapore. So how did this whole journey start?
Yeah, first of all, thank you for having me. Thank you for all the support from last year, early days of Bitlayer till now. I think we are kind of getting close to stage 2, right? Like getting towards TGE and many other things, launching our V2. So I think, zoom out. This is probably my 10th year, more or less, in the crypto space.
True OG.
Yeah. Well, I'm getting older as well, right? I have a 7 years old son, and married with a kid, and he's growing very fast. He will be the second generation crypto person, right?
That's amazing.
He's like born with what is Bitcoin to start with. Yeah.
Does he already know about crypto at this point?
He knows. He always look at the chart. Like when I'm looking at my screen, he's looking at the chart and all these things as well. Yeah. I think he knows. He's very good at looking at the laptop, everything. I think that generation will be interesting. They are born with all the digital stuff and AI and everything. Yeah. And I think my first Bitcoin I bought was 2013. I don't know if I told you, I spent 6 years in Amsterdam. Yeah, you're from Germany, right? I went to Germany many times as well. I had a lot, actually, good story in Germany as well. So my first Bitcoin was very random, completely ad hoc. Interesting story to share. So my good friend from Beijing, he just came over to Amsterdam for 2 weeks. He was a very good designer. So I had an IoT startup before crypto. He was a amazing industry designer. So we chatting about interesting stuff. We went to a coffee shop, the Amsterdam coffee shop, right? What I mean? Yeah. So he likes that because he's an artist. And then it's just some random dudes, long hair, very anarchy, liberal kind of people. They came in with the miner, the whole hardware. I forgot actually how it looks like. It's almost like a 3D printer kind of machine, the Bitcoin miner in the old days. And they came in with all the poster, everything. They were trying to host a Bitcoin meetup in the coffee shop. And
that was when?
2013. Yeah, July in summer. Yeah, it was a good time. And I was who are those people? With this machine, they're asking those questions. They're Dames and Heren in Dutch. This is Bitcoin Amsterdam, 12 episode or something. And they were doing that for quite a while. And then I was asking them, so what is this machine does? They were they mine Bitcoin. So I said, okay, what is this coin? How much is it worth now? At that time, it was $800. So I was gonna get involved in the local top in 2013. That was the local top, around $1,000. So my first Bitcoin I bought was OTC. Literally, there's just one guy I brought it with the euros I spent. I give to them cash and they give me a hardware wallet. Yeah, with one Bitcoin. Yeah, so that was the very weird old way of buying Bitcoin, and I didn't even have my Gox exchange. There's no Binance. There was no Binance, no other exchange there, right? In China, we only had we call this BTC China. That was the oldest exchange in China, and you barely can open an account. It's like a permission, more or less. Yeah, so that's that. But my journey with Ethereum was interesting, and I would say I'm not a Bitcoin maxi because my first journey with crypto, this is the real deal. This is the industry I want to spend the rest of my career. Most likely is Ethereum actually. Yeah. So I went to Germany in Berlin in 2015, early 2015. Yeah. And then obviously I was spending my time doing other stuff, not necessarily full time in crypto, but I got to know the Parity team. they have like open co-working space, like a lot of like German or some other international developer was just chilling there, coding on the sofa, sitting in the couch. So that was a great vibe, and they were talking about what is smart contract. So I met Gavin, who was the CTO of Ethereum, literally the first time there, and the guy was amazing. Like, he was very inspiring. At that time, Ethereum was the good old days, right? They just started up 2014, right? And they were talking about Ethereum client, Ethereum wallet. What is a smart contract you can do for like programmable finance? There was no DeFi. DeFi as a term started from 2019, right? So, but that was like, for me, it was like, wow, this is very interesting. They can fundamentally change everything in this internet world, right? Like this internet 2.0, web 2.0, we can change to this new generation now. And I started deep dive. I started translating some articles. And obviously story happened in Ethereum. There was some fork, right? ETH Classic. Gavin left the Ethereum due to some frustration of misalignment on the technical vision, and he started Polkadot. Polkadot was actually a German project, right? Yeah. One of the most inspiring, technical, and most ambitious project ever, I would say.
One of the few good ones we have.
Yeah, that was probably the best one at that cycle. Yeah, so I invested the first round, 2017, and that was my first real gig, like deep dive, full time, hardcore. I went all in. Like, CZ sold his house, bought Bitcoin, right? I didn't have that chance, but I sold some of my stuff, even my car. I bought Polkadot.
Wow.
Yeah, so that was like 2017 real like action. Bought in the like 35 cents on DOT. At the time, the total supply they only had like 100 million. Like a couple of years later, they expanded to 10 billion, right? So like the price goes down like 100x, but because the total supply went up. I invest like $35, and obviously became like a believer, contributor for Polkadot. And my first event offline about crypto was 2018 December 9th in Beijing. It was a very cold, snowy day, and the Web3 Foundation, Gavin, they came over to China, and it was like only 12 people in the audience. It was a small gathering event. Among the 12 people, 10 of them actually became like Polkadot builder.
Wow.
Some become like a very important like entrepreneur or like investor in the space already. Like I thought nobody speak English. They actually like Polkadot. Some of them, already read about it in the GitHub and everything. And Gavin doesn't speak Chinese. So I was like, okay, let me volunteer, be the translator. So that was my translator journey. Like,
wow.
Really start like, okay, let me be the bridge between the East and West. And then, okay, see what can be useful on that.
Yeah.
Not just being like, just like a noob investor. Because I would consider I was a noob. Yeah, like in 2018, I didn't know that much. But I think we know fairly a lot, maybe even too much now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but at that time, it was like kind of, okay, ICO hype already gone. Polkadot is a fundamental project, and I wish I believe in a lot. And then, that's how I started the journey helping them. So, like I started helping Polkadot as like almost like a super team and Solana kind of a relationship.
Yeah.
We have a brand called Polkabase. In China, we get a Web3 Foundation grant as a community builder, ecosystem builder. But I never worked there like as an employee or like official team, but more like an investor. But that experience really, transpired myself. Okay, like this is not just concept stuff. This is actually real work.
Right. Like
all the things we learned by doing. I met a lot of people along the ways. I met like Huobi, all these exchanges along the ways. I connect them to a lot of builders. I think altogether to quantify our value, we brought like, I would say at least 1 billion worth of attention, like even by pressure, because Polkadot was very hot in China, right? It was maybe even overhyped, right, to some degree, in the end. But it was one of them very good project, right? The token went up like 120x. There was like over 200 projects trying to build on Polkadot, right? Like Gavin was like the rock star. Right, when they came to Asia, he was like the rock star doing the tour. That was a good journey. Like, and now I'm learning along the way. Being not like a sidekick. Now I'm doing my own show. Right, like, with all that, you guys saw me everywhere. Like Polkadot was like the rock star project at the cycle. Right. Yeah. Probably in the audience, people bought it. Some people may be frustrated. I know they never went back again. Right. So for me, like if you ask me why DOT didn't work, eventually leads to even what I'm building in Bitlayer right now is I think there's two reasons. One is it's an over-engineered, over-technical, ambitious project, and the whole architecture is very complicated. So if you build things on Polkadot, it's very expensive. You need to loan the DOT or just actually own a lot of DOT. as the token, right? And then you need to stake it. It's a proof of stake ecosystem, right? So for the people, for the builders who don't have like a large amount of DOT, so you need to pay a huge cost of capital, right, to loan from others, and then eventually the leasing fee of the parachain slot is like millions of dollars. So you can't really build too much on DOT, right? So that was like one major reason. As such a successful, solid technical team, probably one of the best in the world, in the industry, the ecosystem didn't really succeed.
It's interesting, right?
Yeah, the economic reason was the main reason they kind of failed. But if you look at like the retrospect, zoom out, all the eigenlayer, all this like restaking stuff, which is the hard thing, like the whole shared security, original idea came from Polkadot. Yeah. Like even the whole layer 2, right now building a layer 2, the original layer 2 idea was this parachain, like with relay chain, like that's the original idea. Vitalik from Ethereum, they took the idea and now, Ethereum as L1 and then all these L2s, that's the same idea, but just different term.
Right.
Yeah, so that, like for me, that was like my way of thinking about what is, all this interoperability, all this network of networks, right? Like why we needed so many L2s and all that. Yeah.
I mean, now you have been to this whole journey of Polkadot, like early Ethereum days. And then at some point in time, you were at Polygon.
Yeah. I think last time we met, I was in Polygon, yeah.
Exactly, you were at Polygon, which is obviously
Ethereum
another, I mean, it's Ethereum as well, but it's another ecosystem.
Yeah, it's in the L2.
And now you're in Bitcoin. Mm-hmm. So you've kind of gone full circle.
Yeah. It's a huge round trip. Yeah.
So what did end up, why did you say in the end, like Bitcoin is the place where I want to do my own show and it's not something else?
Yeah, thanks for asking. I think, there's a lot of people in the history, right? In this like short term of industry trajectory, a lot of people already attempt, right? They want to scale Bitcoin, like all the way from beginning, before Ethereum started, there was like coins like Color Coin, right? They tried to do that with some kind of programmability. And if we look at the whole historical articles, the founder of Ethereum, Vitalik himself, he was like a contributor, right? Writing articles for Bitcoin, right? For Bitcoin magazine and so on, right? He was like earning some Bitcoins because he was poor, right? He was not like a successful founder. He was young. And he tried to earn some Bitcoin to make a living on that. He couldn't do that with Bitcoin, right? The Bitcoin community was very maxi, very miner driven. And the miners not technical. They're not software engineers. They're like more like just mine Bitcoin and hodl it, right?
Yeah.
They're very maxi stand. And you can't really build things on top of Bitcoin because of the whole setup, right? It's like it's a UTXO cash system model. It's designed to be not like mass adoption, right? And then the market cap was small. So there was like not too much hype or demand around that. And then obviously all over the time, Bitcoin has been completely outperformed most of the ecosystem, right? So the reason for me was in 2023, right? Kind of after my 1.5 year journey after Polygon, was maybe another time I talk about my journey with Polygon later. Ordinals was really one catalyst for me to really feel like, okay, this is something worth my attention, worth my time to really feel something interesting is there. And, so for the people who don't know about Ordinals, it's a meta protocol. You can create interesting derivative assets natively on Bitcoin, right? You can inscribe the Bitcoin NFTs. You can inscribe like BRC20, which is fungible token. Later on, like Rune's other like meta protocol. So it's like Bitcoin derivative. It's on Bitcoin. It's inscribed on Bitcoin natively, and it's always there. You can track. It's kind of like part of the UTXO as assets. You store in your Bitcoin wallet. So it's in the Bitcoin network, but not necessarily exactly Bitcoin itself, right? So that was interesting. So it was like because of the BIP upgradation in 2021, called a BIP 430. So it's a Bitcoin improvement proposal. It got approved by the entire community, especially the Bitcoin core and some of the major miners. They want to have this meta protocol just to open up the whole asset increase. Asset insurance kind of possibility. Yeah. So that was like very interesting. That's like a fundamentally an interesting breakthrough. Without that, I don't think we have Ordinals. We don't have this Ordinals BRC20 season 2 years ago, right? So like I was like get lucky. My friends from Dubai, from America, was like shitting me, "Hey Charlie, you need to look at this. This is very interesting. I know you. We know you were like in Polygon. You were very involved with NFT stuff." And NFT kind of died in Ethereum, which I agree at the time. Yeah, it was like everything was crashing. And I was like, okay, what is this? Like, natively on Bitcoin. So it's not just like you put your JPEG stored in IPFS or other third party. It's actually native on Bitcoin. That was interesting. And then we're talking about
that was kind of the big idea, right? That it's still native on Bitcoin.
Yeah, it was like very important thing to draw a lot of people, including myself's attention. The second thing is really, okay, all these rumors, right? Like institution is going to approve the ETF, right? Like for me, like, okay, it's like billions, even hundreds of billions of new buy pressure will come. Like new Bitcoin holders will enter the space. And that's the whole institutional adoption people have been talking for like last 10 years, right?
Yeah.
And it's actually happened like from last year. But 2 years ago, I knew it's going to happen, right? I saw that coming. It's actually earlier than I thought, right? So that was like, okay, institutions coming. There's things like innovation happening on Bitcoin, really happening. And there's retail, degens actually doing things around. So if you build things around Bitcoin to open up hoses programmability, it's just like a massive value you can capture, right? And that's like the most important thing, because like everything else, like gaming, NFT, we saw all this like seasonal hype, right? Like I saw too many. It's been like, for me, it's like, what's next? Like you keep asking what's next, but what can stick around? And 10 years later, like for me, my belief is like Bitcoin is going to stick around. Things around Bitcoin will have just multiple magnitudes bigger value, if you build. So if I only have 10 years or 20 years of my rest of my career for this industry, what I should do, being an investor or builder. And I was like getting tired of being an investor because I couldn't get involved that early and that deeply. And I want to be a founder. I feel like that was the right thing to do.
Yeah.
And then I think the trigger, the pivotal moment was the Ordinal Summit in 2023. So I met Domo, who is also one of our investors. He created BRC20 protocol.
Yeah.
He was sharing all these like on-chain UTXO on Bitcoin. Millions of UTXO generated on Bitcoin and make Bitcoin very congested. So people have to pay like hundreds of dollars to make a Bitcoin transaction because the network was so heavily used, right? So I know for me, okay, we need to scale Bitcoin. Like this is not the end game. If we keep going like this, the network is not going to be healthy and sustainable. So like, okay, let's see how we can keep Bitcoin healthy, but bring like a layer 2 or more like a scaling layer to offload the Bitcoin network, right? But still have the fee contributing back to the miners. So that was a kind of my pivotal moment. Okay, I need to do research about how to scale Bitcoin. And then BitVM came out literally just a couple of weeks later. And I read about white paper, was like, holy shit, that's the thing. That's the I was looking at. Like it's still academic research paper and like white paper, but that's the approach we can deep dive and actually build something amazing. And I reconnected with my current co-founder Kevin, who is like the true technical leader and a manager, CTO, like best of the best PTO in my network. And we have a very aligned vision about BVM, and that's how we started Bitlayer. Yeah.
But just taking one step back before we go into Bitlayer direction,
Sure.
right? It's like about a year ago, maybe 2 years ago, this whole ordinals, runes, inscriptions, like there were hundreds of companies and every investor backed this, right? There was Liquidium, which was like a super high project at some point in Bitcoin. There's like all these different players. And then eventually, like a couple months later, it was like gone, like from the radar, like from the hype radar, right? And it's like, then eventually like the L2s came along, right? And there were like hundreds of L2s and L2 Watch and all these things. And everybody had different things building, and Solana mixed with Bitcoin and like different technical aspects to it. And I mean, we talked about this for a long time, right? It's like, why is Bitlayer succeed if there's like 200 other L2s? Obviously now I think
Not
2 or
too
3 are remaining or something like this.
Yeah,
but
less than 10 for sure.
But it's always this piece, right? Right in the waves, like ordinals. Then I mean, I was in Puerto Rico with you, right? And like we met funds that were purely investing in ordinals.
Yeah, like Bitcoin Frontier Fund. Yeah, for example. Yeah.
It's like they put in millions of dollars in just this little vertical of it, right?
Yeah.
So like, how do you see that kind of like sustaining, or is ordinals, especially for all the people that are listening, right? Is that still something that's maybe that's very present? It's just not really spoken anymore about, or just like in the Bitcoin ecosystem, just to get an idea where we are now.
So like I was talking about my journey, how I eventually end up with co-founding Bitlayer, right? Like the ordinal season was great. It was a great season, but it's gone. It's over, right? Do I think it's gonna have another Ordinals 2.0 season coming back with all these like degen inscribing on Bitcoin, paying like all these sats, creating all these NFTs or BRC20? I doubt so. That's the thing, right? Like there's people like team like Ori Network, they want to build this like new meta protocol called Arcane. There's other team want building like a BRC 2.0. I don't see too much hype anymore, too much adoption anymore. But I think the interesting stuff we should definitely look at it is how to use Bitcoin as this very important assets, which is heavily adopted by institution and also retail, and earn potential yield around it. It's a very heavily traded assets. It's one of the best performing assets in the last 10 years, and gold is performing well, right, recent weeks, but for other reasons. But I think Bitcoin is gonna outperform gold over the long time. It's already outperformed massively in the last couple of years, right? And it still have a long way to go. So with these assets as a huge market cap, how to get the value and activate the whole idle Bitcoin, right, to create the value for DeFi and getting yield for the Bitcoin holders. I think that's the biggest opportunity we're looking at. And after the whole ordinals mania.
Yeah, and I guess how do you see now with where Bitlayer's out now, and maybe give a kind of brief like update on like where you guys are at, but also the lessons you've learned working in different companies and like investing early in the crypto space and seeing where I think you mentioned earlier how Polkadot came to Asia, but they never kind of came back, and how I think especially in Web3, like you kind of have to travel constantly, like at least have a presence in different regions of the world. And you mentioned connecting East and West and connecting Bitcoin to institutions, to consumers. Right. How do you kind of see like kind of learning from some of the mistakes from like the past ecosystems? So like Bitlayer will be a more longer standing, institution in the space.
Yeah, great question. Thanks, Brett. This is definitely, I look every day, I wake up, I look at my mirror, like, are we doing something right? Like, principle wise, like, are we actually heading in the right direction? Like, I'm asking myself, asking my co-founder, and of course asking my investor advisor all the time as well. I think to be a successful project founder in the space, I think I mentioned about that during the panel in New York. Like, you have to be global. Like, if you don't have very global connection and vision, you're not gonna grow very big, right? Over the time, you're gonna be a local small project. Being there, that's it. Yeah, you're gonna stuck in your market value to some degree. You're gonna hit a plateau very soon. You mentioned about Polkadot, a few other projects. They managed to become a global project pretty fast and pretty successfully. But obviously, they had their own mistakes later down the road. We need to avoid as well. Building things on Bitcoin require you to have access to multiple different sources of network. Like, one is the miners. You need to have a strong connection with the miners, which is very unique, very difficult for a lot of the builders who are actually just a software engineer. Like, we actually are very well connected with a lot of miners. That's the good news I'm going to announce maybe later this week. Yeah, we have a very important miner, like CEO of Unpool, actually speaking at the event as well. The other one is the builders, right? My experience working for Polkadot, Polygon, I know hundreds, even thousands of the builders, like building DeFi and all that. You need to have a good connection with them, because that's like an easy onboarding. Like, they don't need to ask for grant. They actually like you as a founder, and you build an EVM compatible scaling solution. But on Bitcoin, it was like an easy conversation. At least like the first 500 project we were talking to, we eventually ended up with, we have like over 200 projects deploy on us, right? We didn't give them grant. It wasn't like, give me a brand, you pay me and I deploy. No, It was really like, okay, let's explore. It's low cost, deploy on your chain, and it's pretty smooth. It's EVM compatible, so we don't need to rebuild. Right, and then we kick off that after the deployment. So it was like very low cost for us to onboarding developers, because the connections, that was very helpful. And then access to liquidity provider is very important. That's another very hardcore skills and a network which some team don't have. Right, I think that's the part that we have. Throughout the years, we have good connection with some of the liquidity provider who have like been Bitcoin whales, and also our ordinals connections. A lot of the retail, right, who have been hodling Bitcoin in the Bitcoin community, they contributed and participating in our campaign and stuff. Those are the users we need, right?
Yeah. Well, even you're saying how you're not having to essentially bribe projects to build on Bitlayer, right? Where a lot of like, especially ecosystems, L2s and L1s, where I think especially when interest rates were a lot lower and just they were just giving out money like candy, right? And like now, like that's obviously shifted, and now it's like you have to actually build something that people want to build on. They actually see like value. Can you maybe talk about that, like seeing like that kind of up and down over the last like 5 or 10 years? Because it used to be like you'd have to give up money to attract.
Because you were at Polygon, I think a big thing that Polygon did that didn't work was their heavy grant program.
Yeah, it was a lot.
I mean, I talked at some point in time to, I don't know who it was, Sandeep or someone, and it's like, I don't know how many millions of dollars and hundreds of millions of dollars of grants they gave out.
Yeah.
And the thing is, like, if you get something for free. Like,
You just don't value it. Yeah.
right? And it's like people came, I think, to Bitlayer effectively because they liked you as a person, right? Or like the team.
And they like the Bitcoin story.
Yeah,
and all that.
of course, the story in as well. But like, it's low cost, it's value, and it's easy to do, right? And like, these are connections you have, and if you have to treat them like, yeah, come here,
So
build, and
let me
money.
give you the whole work process, like the logic process and thought process. Even behind some of the founders we work with, we ask them like, why would you want to work with us and so on, right? I think three things. One, they look at the team. Is there like a real synergy they can create with us, right? Can we help them become more successful building with us, right? Low cost is like the bare minimum.
Yeah.
If it's like too high cost, it's like high barrier. There's nothing you can do with it. So we are low cost, we're even compatible. It's very straightforward. But on top of that, we help them with like liquidity support. We help them with a few other important connections. And we being like pretty fast growing, like being in the OG space, you just need to be helpful, right? Because they are founder, you're founder, right? To be like founder as a founder fellow, it's very important. You don't have this like top-down approach. Oh, I'm a big chain founder, so I give you a grant, so like salute to me. Like that's a wrong attitude. I think some foundation have that too much of that attitude. You are just small builder. You're nobody. I'm a big deal. So, whatever, right? Like it's not, I think, the right approach. And you never know. Some small guys eventually turn out to be like a major company, like within like 1 or 2 years, right? Things like guys like Virtual, like they were nobody 3 years ago. Now like one of the biggest AI agent company in the space, right? So like having the right attitude, working with the right founders, and help them along the ways, and their success is our success. I think those are very important. And the Bitcoin story, like the whole Bitcoin DeFi or having Bitcoin liquidity, I think it's a very interesting news story for a lot of the DeFi founders. They never saw that, right? Oh, there's a possibility to do Bitcoin DeFi. Tell me more about it. Oh, we can have a Bitcoin TVL. Or what is that? Or what is this Bitcoin community? We can potentially unlock.
Right.
I don't need to pay to enter your network, and you actually can give us liquidity. Let's do that, right? I think that's like the reason why a lot of builders wants to work with us. And obviously, the more we work with them, we have like ecosystem leaderboards. We put them on the DApp Center. We have like all these campaigns. We did it with Binance Wallet, with OKX Wallet. We put it on the spotlight. But that's the things we don't do for every project, but the ones actually wants to work with us deeply, right? That's like a good feedback loop.
The more intrinsic connection.
Like actually, we help them to grow. Bring users, bring like actual things, actually move the chart, like move the metrics. The grant, like what you mentioned about Polygon, like when I was working there in the BD team in Polygon, they give hundreds of grants, even thousands to projects. Some of them, they don't even know who are they, like what the result out of that. I think that's the part. Like when you give the grants, you need to see the result and like real feedback loop. I think after a while, Polygon missing that part. Like, it will just, the ecosystem become too big. They lose focus and they lose track.
Yeah. Can you explain to me and to all the people listening, and also Brent, because he's sometimes a little slower, what is Bitlayer? But in a most simple way possible.
Yeah. So Bitlayer is this infrastructure around Bitcoin to empower Bitcoin DeFi. We're building two things. One is the BitVM bridge, which is the third generation Bitcoin bridging solution. It's more trust minimized than WBTC, right? That's, everybody kind of know WBTC, right? It's the multi-sig approach bridging. We are doing this BitVM bridge. The second thing is Bitcoin rollup. So it's not just sidechain, but actually a native security equivalent to layer 2. So it's a Bitcoin security level layer 2 we're building. So these are the two products we're launching. The vision is to activate Bitcoin's assets to enter DeFi, right? To build this like ecosystem of Bitcoin DeFi for retail and for institution. So that's Bitlayer.
Yeah, and maybe before we wrap, because I think we need a definitely part 2 to this, because there's definitely a lot to cover. But maybe give just some kind of updates on like next kind of 3 to 6 months, what's like coming down the kind of pike, is some alpha, for the listeners.
Well, alpha is definitely the punchline to start with. We're launching our token soon for people who are interested to understand our ecosystem. We're launching our utility token BTR soon. That's that. Second is our BVM bridge have some interesting collaboration with big ecosystem like Sui and Cardano and a few others. And so great to, open up this like multi-ecosystem Bitcoin DeFi we are empowering. And the third thing, we have a few very interesting institutional Bitcoin yield-bearing products we're launching. So Franklin Templeton is our leading investor on a Series A round. We're talking to 21 shares and a few others. So the institutional adoption is very important. That's our topic for tomorrow's event as well. Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah, I think that's really like we're trying to head, right? The institutional piece of it.
Yep.
And we're proud investors in Bitlayer since a
again.
bit of a time now, and I think you're just a founder that's on the ball. Like that's what fascinates me. You have so much going on, and you're still like on the ball of every single message, everything that goes through. So that's props and kudos to you. Before we wrap up, let's do a couple of rapid fire questions.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
You literally have 2 seconds to answer.
Yep.
Right. And it's not going to be an either or question. I'm also just going to put
Choose
you on
one.
the spot.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it can be both.
Okay.
Okay. Biggest competitor.
Call right now.
Bitcoin, Ethereum.
Bitcoin.
Dubai or Singapore.
Singapore. Yeah.
Most excited Chinese food.
Seafood. Fish.
Any concrete.
Like the lobster. Chinese lobster. Yeah.
Never had that.
Chinese lobster.
Yeah.
Okay. Favorite country to travel to.
Switzerland.
Okay. Name of your wife.
My wife is Vivi.
Awesome.
That's not a multiple choice, but yeah.
German, English second language, so a little slow.
No, it's about
dogs
confusing your
dogs
brain.
or cats?
Dogs.
Beer or wine.
Beer.
Tequila or vodka?
Tequila.
There we go.
Hats or t-shirts.
Hats.
Party or networking event.
Networking. Yeah.
I think he has to say that's a founder, but we could definitely go on more and more.
Both.
Charlie, it's been great. Thanks for coming on today, and we'll get back to you.
All right.
Cool.